Beloved by Toni Morrison. It is less frequently challenged right now than some of these other books, partially because it's not as often a part of the high school curriculum. But it's a really powerful story that's based on a true story of a enslaved woman who ended up being cornered by slave catchers. She escaped and murdered her child to prevent her child from going back to slavery. So it's a beautiful, haunting, and powerful condemnation of slavery that asks us to think about the kind of emotional toll as well as the legacy of slavery and how it affects generations. And then the other one is Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. So Atwood wrote this book in the 1980s as a response to the rise of evangelical fundamentalism in the US. And unfortunately, its message continues to be very relevant. So it's a story about a dystopian society in which women are denied bodily autonomy. Their fertile women are forced to be handmaids, which subjects them to rape for the purpose of childbearing, essentially. So it certainly aligns with some of the national conversations that we're having about women's bodily autonomy.
So these are all, I mean, most of them are pretty much relevant today, unfortunately. It seems that you talked about Beloved and Homecoming and The Handmaid's Tale, but all of them would be recommended. And why would these books be banned? I mean, would it be because of some sort of maybe people being uncomfortable with some of the content? Are there other reasons?
Yes, All Boys Are in Blue and The Poet X. I haven't read The New Kid, but these two in particular were banned because of gender identity issues, and mostly in like the schools, in like the high schools and middle schools. They've been banned in school libraries. It makes people uncomfortable. They don't want students to sort of identify with anything that's not, I don't want to say
a traditional gender binary.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
And there are also representations of sexuality. So, for example, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian has a conversation about masturbation in it, representations of sexuality. So accusations that these books are in some ways pornographic. How pornography is defined, right, is nebulous. So even if it's a book that features a same-sex couple kissing, for example, it might be labeled as pornographic, even though in terms of sexual content, it's relatively mild. So the reason we're seeing an uptick in the number of banned books aligns with some of the kind of culture wars that we're in right now, and particularly kind of pushing back against any kind of quote-unquote wokeness. So that we're seeing books that maybe in the past 10 years wouldn't have been considered as controversial are now seen as more controversial.
So it's all about comfort and, you know, being out of one's comfort zone that makes people.
I mean, it also, and I have to say this as a person who has a PhD in English, it also speaks to the power of literature, right? Yeah. So it's this recognition that the stories were read, the stories were told, that they have a certain amount of power, right? Power to influence, power to humanize, and power to better understand. And so it's about kind of controlling narratives broadly and then on an individual level of books.
Thank you so much for both of your words and precious comments. This is...
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a banned book giveaway, and I am Beste Tatlican, Editor-in-Chief of the Campus Slate. Thank you.